Can the audience guess the theme for Double Shot Tuesday?
I don't think they'll get it.
No.
They won't get it.
Yeah, because it's pretty wide open.
All right, we can
Guys
try.
with beards. No. Yeah, it might be tough. And never mind. Trios is today's theme for Double Shot Tuesday, which I think is kind of interesting because some people may not think about, well, how many people are in that band? But famous and greatest trios in music.
I like it.
That's the theme for Double Shot Tuesday today. All right. 50857 on the text line. Don't just send in the band, throw a song in there as well. All right. For Double Shot Tuesday. Famous trios. Three Stooges did not sing.
I love that show, though. I love watching the Three Stooges. Nyeh, nyeh, nyeh.
Of course, Jump in the Saddle did the song about the Three Stooges, but yeah. Little Three Stooges talk, huh? All right,
Love
there you
the
go.
Three Stooges.
Really?
I love them.
Way, way back.
That is the only black and white TV show I'd ever watch.
Okay.
Larry, Curly, and Moe. Let's
I guess
go.
you didn't watch Leave It to Beaver,
No.
the early Bonanza before they tried to color it.
No.
Okay.
Three Stooges.
Okay. They're funny.
A wise guy, eh?
Okay. All right. All right. Just what we needed. A little bit of that going, huh?
We can go back to breaking down Carolina Mike versus Set the Flow.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Magic set a 1 o'clock press conference on Thursday for the introduction of Sean Sweeney as their new head basketball coach. That'll be on Thursday. Draft's coming up soon also. So the basketball news never stops. Richard Hale normally is with us on Fridays for a sports law segment, like a special sports law segment coming up at 10:15 today. Boy, that escalated quickly. Huh?
Yeah.
Man. That was like, we'll draw a line in this. We'll fight. We've got the Attorney General of the state of Texas. Take us on. We're good. Yeah, he won't play this year. Yeah. Yeah, big change in the Brendan Sorsby story. And a little bit of jump the gun reporting. He's not in the supplemental draft. At the moment, there is no supplemental draft. The supplemental draft is for players that have lost their eligibility, no longer have eligibility. And like, well, he fits that. No. At the moment, he has an injunction that gives him eligibility to play. His attorneys that so adamantly said, well, in this country, we don't defy a court ruling. He has his eligibility. That's why he's playing. His attorneys now must go and say, we withdraw that position. We'd like him to be ineligible. The best would be, he needs to be punished for this. And only then could he file to apply for a supplemental draft. So he didn't apply for anything last night. He has to have the court withdraw their position so that he is ineligible again. And then he applies to the NFL, who, by the way, doesn't have to grant him anything. Wouldn't that be a story? Wouldn't that be a story? You know? Then he's an Edmonton Eskimo. No.
Toronto Argonaut.
It's up to the NFL to decide if they would put on a supplemental draft. So we'll hear from Richard a little bit later. I do have I teased this, on the bridge with Kelly. I hope we learn some things out of this as well. I mean, it's one thing if you say, hey, Texas Tech, they got embarrassed, what they did, and also, okay, whatever, they got to deal with that. Although I do have a theory, which I'll get to. I actually think Texas Tech privately celebrated this yesterday. But hopefully the stuff that we learned as well. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, darn it.
It doesn't bother me like it does.
Okay. Matt and Michelle's weekly visit. He'll be with us about 10:35, 10:40 in the program today. It's on the Mark, off the Mark Tuesday as well, which we will get to. 4 draws in the World Cup yesterday and more matches today. The Messi guy plays today. I hear he's pretty good. And the big news in World Cup yesterday, Cape Verde. Safe to say if I gave 99 of you a map and said, find it, it wouldn't go well.
What is with people putting did you see the guy who put like $1 million on Spain to beat Cape Verde for
Mhm.
like an $85,000 payment
Yeah.
or something like that? Why are we doing that?
Why what? First off, you do that because you just have blank you money. And it would be hard to find someone who said yesterday that Spain's going to not win against Cape Verde.
So you just literally wasted $1 million.
Well, no, he made the bet thinking he was going to win $85,000, and he saw it as an easy $85,000. And I don't think you make that wager unless losing $1 million doesn't change your life.
So if losing $1 million doesn't change your life, what is the point of adding 80? What's the point of risking $1 million for 85 grand?
Because I'm sure that person saw a free $85 million.
$1,000?
I mean, $85,000. Yeah. And just said, well, I mean, there's no way they're losing to Cape Verde. So if I can make $85,000, this is free money. And I'm sure somebody said, well, the worst thing is you lose $1 million. They said, whatever. It's a different world, man. Different world.
I'll never understand it.
Well, I mean, some things you don't need to understand.
I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't need to understand it either. Whatever. Life, don't worry about it, man.
I guess.
All right. Here's everybody's favorite segment.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? One Forrest one.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CB's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
Oh man, I feel like there's added pressure since I didn't do one yesterday. I really got to come through today. So, Mark, what is the leading cause of dry skin?
I don't know, Chris. What is the leading cause of dry skin?
Towels. Towel dry your skin.
parents would never let me go to see Rush.
Why is that?
I think they were convinced I'd be abducted by a cult and yeah. But Chris, let me explain. When I grew up at a time when Rush is Rush, right?
Mhm.
It was the classic whenever the concert was that Monday, there are like 300 kids wearing a Rush t-shirt, you know? It was a classic. Yeah.
Wha-
Yeah. Parents said no. Not to that one. Okay. All right.
Did you throw a tantrum?
No, I mean, my dad was pretty cool, and you know, you had to learn how to play the game and everything, and so you know, you pick and choose: Menudo, Broward County Youth Fair, or Rush, Hollywood Sportatorium. You got to pick and choose. Can't win them all. Oh yeah, milk was a bad choice today. I'm going to let Richard Hale handle the legal stuff with the Brendan Sorsby saga in the next segment. Chris, when you read or saw whatever how you did last night, your first reaction was what?
Wow.
Yeah.
And then why now?
You know, I was leaning towards he was never going to play.
Yeah.
Position. Yeah.
And then so after the initial shock, it's like, why now?
Mhm.
For what?
Hmm.
And I still don't understand it.
Can I give you my theory?
Yes.
All right. I do like a good conspiracy. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I believe that when the Texas Attorney General put out his little thing and they drew the line like, we're going to fight this and so forth, I still think that there's some people at Texas Tech and the president's office and even Kirby Hocutt, the AD, that needed a way out. And the way out wasn't to just cave. And while everybody views this as, hey, they all caved because of what the Big 12 did yesterday, and legal minds were really impressed with the outside legal counsel for the Big 12, their industry respect, and the way they worded their case against Texas Tech, which included things like, oh, we'll control our ability of suspending, fining, banning, including the Big 12 championship, that it kind of put them in a corner. There's a part of me that believes Texas Tech now got the out that they needed and can still, within their fan base, say, we did everything we could to protect the kid. We did. And Cody Campbell put out that long letter, which my response was, feel bad for you, bro, or good luck, can't read all that, to say, we support him. We're going to continue to support him. He's part of our Texas Tech family. We didn't do, they did this. They did this. Okay. And even Brett Yormark, and I admit, I'm just kind of throwing a theory at you. And 10 o'clock hour, WYGM Orlando, WJR HD2 Cocoa Beach. Even Brett Yormark, I'm going to guess, communicated with the powers at Texas Tech and said, look, we're going to have to throw something back at you legally. And if it gets to that, it gets to it. I don't want it to get there. You know that the members are in complete agreement here, but we're going to do something that you're going to be in a difficult spot. And I think Texas Tech was like, good, kind of helps us. So a little bit of wounds right now. Everybody gets over it. You know, a little bit of trouble along the way. Texas Tech ain't going anywhere. No one's inviting them to the SEC or Big Ten, at least in the next couple of years. They're not going anywhere. They get out of it by not looking as if they caved, by saying, we supported him. They did this legally. And in the end, we wanted what was best for him. And they may have taken his eligibility away after the deadline of the supplemental draft. So he had no choice, but we support him. So they can still sit well with their fan base. And behind the scenes, kind of thanking Brett Yormark for the out here, the PR out. Yormark comes across, and I said this at key moment, he comes across as the guy better than anything the NCAA could have ever done because, one, he said, oh, we're going to enforce our rules, which is the criticism people have had of the NCAA, and my defense of the NCAA is, what do you want them to do? Every time they try to enforce the rules, someone goes to court. So he comes across as, I got my legal team and I'm going to stand by my rules. And his school's like, yeah, this guy fought for us. And now he can play peacemaker saying, listen, in the end, we had some disagreements. Now we all got to get along. That doesn't mean his conference is going to have the same 16 members in 8 years, but for now, he wins again. He won here by getting rid of this distraction. Doesn't have to suspend, fine, ban anybody. And there are legal reasons why he was able to do this, why the NCAA cannot. So I do think, in a way, Texas Tech, behind closed doors, breathes a sigh of relief. President, AD. I don't know about football coach. He lost a quarterback that he believes gave them a better chance to win. The freshman that played last year when their starting quarterback was hurt in Barry Morton's, the freshman played last year, the Hammonds kid, is not bad, but he had an ACL. May not be ready when the season starts. And the other guy that's probably not happy about it is Cody Campbell. Why? He's bankrolling this. And I have no idea. Chris asked me, and I think Cody indicated he's not asking for any money back. And some of the reports are that Sorsby got 2/3 of his $5+ million, whatever it is. I mean, to Cody Campbell, whatever. Does it ding his credibility? I'm not quite sure he loses sleep over people in the media that think he lost credibility here. Maybe he's still going to stroll down Radio Row at the Big 12 Media Day event. I don't know. I don't know. But who looks good here? Your Mark? Big 12 members by saying, no, our bylaws are going to matter here. We're unified. I guess college football? Maybe? I guess. Who looks bad? Sorsby? The Red Raider 5 that sat there at that table and did that 22-minute video now really looks bad. But I do think that Texas Tech, behind closed doors, breathes a sigh of relief. And by the way, and Chris, I think you'll agree, can play with the chip on the shoulder, right? Oh, now we'll prove them. And then I said earlier, roster-wise, they're still the best team in the Big 12. They're still the best team in the Big 12. They paid for it.
I was going to say, there's a difference between the best roster and the most expensive roster.
They have the best and most expensive roster in the Big 12.
Okay.
Doesn't guarantee they're going to win because now they do have a valid question at quarterback, but they have the deepest team. There's no question about it.
I just want to go back to the beginning of all of this. This all could have been avoided with Texas Tech if they've learned of his gambling issues prior to signing him, don't sign him. If they learned of them after signing him, could have been like, dude, get help. We're not going to.
Yeah.
We don't want to bring you on.
Could have, but the obsession and addiction to win and the cost of winning makes people think differently. Okay, listen, there's a lot of Cincinnati, even though Cincinnati will tell you, yeah, he came to us regarding fantasy football bets. Sometimes you can choose to not see the red flag. Be like, okay, I'm going to turn my back and we're going to pretend that you didn't come in here. Then you go figure out what you got to do. Cincinnati's not exactly so innocent here. And by the way, are they still pursuing the $1 million that they want back of him leaving? I don't know, which brings me to this point. I said this earlier. I did find it interesting during the couple months of this saga. The awakening that all of us suddenly had about what's moral in this sport that is conflicted far beyond one could have ever imagined. It is interesting about things that unified people. Don't get me wrong. Brendan Sorsby has a gambling problem. Just like an alcoholic will always deal with the challenges for the rest of their life. And anybody that has an addiction, he'll always deal with that. And hopefully he's gotten the help and continues to get help to put his life back in order. Okay? But we rallied behind that in college football. Like that was the line in the sand for us. And Cody Campbell may have come across I played a clip of the interview that he did with Dan Dockich on the bridge, and even in his writings, he's not wrong when it comes to how we handle certain things. Chris, you know how many coaches on Jim Harbaugh's staff that was part of the national championship either got fired or banned by the NCAA?
Wasn't it like a
12.
vast majority?
12. Okay. And by the way, we did scream about that. Michigan didn't. They went to court to keep their coach on the field. Okay. They had a guy set up this elaborate system to steal signs. They had coaches that broke NCAA rules all over the place. And they had 12 players, 12 coaches. Okay. Chris, remember Brandon Miller at Alabama? Brandon Miller drove to deliver a gun to someone that led to the shooting of someone. He wasn't charged with a crime, but Nate Oates, the basketball coach, justified why he should still play basketball. He got a gun, drove to give to someone who used it in a shooting. Anybody remember Jalen Carter's speeding?
I was just about to ask you
He
about.
raced an individual who crashed their car that killed someone and injured someone else. We pick and choose outrage when it fits. This one fit because all of a sudden we woke up and go, but this is about the integrity of the game. Hopefully we learn lessons as well. Like we're asking Brendan Sorsby to understand there are consequences for your actions. Okay, that's fair. We hope that Texas Tech learns that in the end, winning shouldn't trump all the obsession to win and the mighty dollar to win. Shouldn't throw aside rules that we agreed to and some sort of ethics or morals that we think we're supposed to have. And that's fair. But the same thing should apply to some degree to us. The next time the story of the player that does get in trouble happens, we should all realize the most important thing isn't getting he or she back on the playing field to help our team win. Like we said, shouldn't Texas Tech, shouldn't this be easy? Just do the right thing. Yeah. So the next time we get one of these, it shouldn't be, well, due process hasn't played itself out, or I need a judge in a certain district that's going to rule a certain way. We should all learn, because sometimes things are pretty clear. Sometimes they are. This one was 9,000 bets, $90,000, bets made illegally, wiring money to other people.
Gambling underage.
And gambling on his own team. And you go, well, not to lose. He bet unders on players of the team that he was on. There are consequences. And sometimes we need to be reminded that coaches and players that put on the logo and the uniform of the schools that we cheer for, it's a privilege. And sometimes you lose that privilege. And you do stupid things. You shouldn't have the privilege, even if it means your team doesn't have as good as a chance to win the next game because of it. Like, I don't know where we're going on the whole eligibility crap, but something tells me in 5 years we're going to look back and go, we were allowing this stuff of people on a third professional contract to go play basketball because we didn't really know what the rules were and we kind of skirted the rules, and, guys that had been pros. I mean, something tells me we're going to go, we allowed that? Like, we were okay with that? So if you want Brendan Sorsby and Texas Tech to learn something, hopefully we learn something as well. Like, this rallied us. Like, we're drawing the line here because it's on the integrity of the game. Right. The next time your coach stands in front of microphones and says, well, we're going to let the facts play itself out here, and he or she has a right to due process, and that's why I'm going to play them. when the common sense answer is no, you're playing them because it's about winning, and maybe that should take a backseat to what the right thing to do is. So hopefully we all learned a lesson here. Doubt it, but hopefully we do. A special sports law segment of Richard Hale next.
Time now for this week's Sports Law segment with Richard Hale.
Special sports law segment, Richard Hale, normally with us on Fridays, and we'll chat with him later in the week. But the news yesterday was interesting, and Richard's kind of give us some time today. Life comes at you fast sometimes, right? How you doing?
I'm doing well, Mark. Thanks for having me on this morning.
All right, can you walk me through this? What did the Texas Attorney General do and Texas Tech that then saw the Big 12 say, well, we've got our outside counsel who's pretty good at this? And then what they did yesterday that almost looked like a checkmate as the legal industry said, wow, that was impressive. Can you get it in layman's terms for us about what happened yesterday?
Sure. I would say that the Texas Attorney General's threatening letter to the Big 12 was an unforced error of the highest degree. If you take out the letter that he wrote threatening the Big 12, there's really no justiciable controversy here, right? So we have a conference who is mulling a private conversation, a sanctioned vote. That's not a case. It's a meeting, but you go and the Texas AG making a $200 million antitrust threat. Now we've taken what could have been a meeting of Big 12 upper echelons, and now we've handed the Big 12 its case. A brilliant legal move by the Big 12, in my mind. They brought what's called a action for declaratory relief. And keep in mind, declaratory relief isn't necessarily a lawsuit in the traditional sense. What the declaratory relief seeks is a declaration of a party's rights under contract. So you and I enter into a contract for me to paint your fence, and there are some conditions in there. If I am unclear of those conditions, as opposed to suing you for breach of contract when you don't pay me for my work, I can approach the court and say there are some things about this contract that I don't understand. I would like some guidance here before I move forward with filing a breach of contract action. That was, again, a really smart move by the Big 12 to kind of go to the court and say, look, we've now been threatened with an antitrust lawsuit. We're really unclear of our rights under the Big 12 governance agreement. So we want the court to help us understand what our rights are. And then if once we're a little more clear, we can determine whether or not we want to file a breach of contract action. That was probably the key error by the Texas AG, because he really allowed them to just kind of walk into court with this on a silver platter, taking it in federal court. Another brilliant move by them, because now we potentially have a conflict between the state court injunction that was issued by the state of Texas and a federal court decision, which nobody wanted to see happen, because obviously judges don't want to be one-upping each other or have conflict in their rulings, especially between the state court and the federal court. So it's some brilliant moves yesterday by the Big 12 from a legal standpoint. Where we go from here remains to be seen. I will say this: courts are very hesitant to provide legal advice by way of a declaratory relief. And so whether the federal court here will choose to rule on this or not remains to be seen. Oftentimes people will seek legal advice from a court by filing the claim for declaratory relief. Not sure that that's going to pan out in this particular case, because the federal court at this point could really just punt on it, no pun intended. And then obviously Sorsby's not playing next year anyway. That decision came down late last night, as you've alluded to. So maybe it's all for naught at this point, but some really interesting and groundbreaking legal maneuvering going on in the last 24 hours.
I want to ask you about Jeffrey Kessler in a moment, the well-respected attorney who's had a lot of wins against the NCAA. But before I do that, Brendan Sorsby's legal team has to go before the judge that gave them the injunction to ask for that to be withdrawn. What is that process, and is it easily granted? Because you just told me a few days ago why you needed it. Now you're basically saying, please make him ineligible. What is that process?
Yeah, the process is going to be very difficult for them at this point to get that order overturned. Just number one, a judge who has already issued that decision is going to be really reticent to go back on what and you talked about how can he apply for the supplemental draft, which, as we know, doesn't even exist yet. But how can he apply for the supplemental draft if he is still deemed to be eligible by a competent court in his jurisdiction? I think it's a very fair question. Now, I've read through some of the requirements for entering the supplemental draft. I do think that the NFL here has a little bit of say-so in that process. That may be significant as we move forward. Now, whether or not it means that this judge is willing to lift the injunction or not, I'm not sure. But the process is complicated. And
so the judge doesn't have to do that.
Overnight.
The
judge does not have to do that, no.
Kessler's a pretty smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
How did this get miscalculated? I mean, clearly the Attorney General of Texas, I don't think, did what he did without Kessler knowing. Did he just miss on this one?
I don't think that he missed on this one. You have to deal the cards, or you have to play the cards that you're dealt.
Yeah.
He's in a very difficult situation, right? And I think the arguments that were made, and they were carefully crafted, really touched on the gambling addiction that Sorsby has and his desire to get help. You and I talked about it last week. There were a lot of conditions to the order that was entered granting the injunction. Those conditions really centered around Sorsby getting the help that he needs for the gambling addiction. And Kessler's arguments really touched on that, I felt like, and touched less on maybe the black letter law that existed here. There is a desire at the end of the day to get this kid the help that he needs. We can laugh it off as, oh, the gambling addiction is not that serious, but I tend to disagree. And hopefully what doesn't get lost in this is the kid's desire to get better and his ability to enter a treatment program that does allow him to get better. I think Kessler, at the end of the day, played the hand that he was dealt.
Legally, what if there is any precedent of the Big 12 basically saying, no, we're going to fight to make sure that our rules apply? Is this a precedent to something else? And people wonder, well, how come they were able to do this, but the NCAA's not been able to do this?
Is it a precedent? I'm going to say no. I think that it is a cautionary tale moving forward. I think that what it shows is that collectively these conferences are extremely strong. And as we move forward in trying to redefine a framework of what the NCAA and this conference partnership looks like, the conferences have gained a lot of leverage in that discussion moving forward as a result of what's happened in the last 24 hours. And so I do think there's a framework moving forward where the NCAA and the conferences can continue to peacefully exist. But in that framework, the conferences now, I believe, have a little bit of upper hand based on what we've seen.
I said this earlier, it's just an opinion, and maybe it's not even totally legally related. Part of me thinks, Richard, that the folks at Texas Tech have a sigh of relief in the sense of they kind of get out of this. They can say they defended their player and so forth, but the legal battle to some degree is ending, and you can patch up the wounds within a conference. I mean, I don't know what happens realignment in the next X number of years, but there's a part of me that thinks that they probably have a sigh of relief. You agree?
Maybe a sigh of relief just because they're not in the headlines on this anymore. I'd tell you, I'd be a little nervous if I was at Cincinnati right now. You had this kid on your team for 2 years. You knew he was gambling. You knew he was gambling on Cincinnati games, and yet you let him continue to play.
By the way, they still have their lawsuit trying to get their $1 million back from him.
Still trying to get their lawsuit of $1 million back. I think the facts of that case may change, whether we see a counterclaim now for failure to take care of this kid and at least, address his gambling addiction. Remains to be seen. I don't know if that lawsuit now just somehow goes away because of what's unfolded. But I'll say this, Texas Tech, if you want to argue that they dodged a bullet, they still have to play, 12 games next year with the kid that just tore his ACL in October. And the only other quarterbacks on the roster, I think collectively have about 3 starts among them. Maybe that Tulsa kid that transferred in has some snaps under his belt. But I think that's the bigger issue right now for Texas Tech fans is you spend a lot of money on a roster. Can you still be competitive?
Good stuff. Thanks for hopping on today. We'll talk later in the week. I appreciate it, Richard.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Take care.
Richard Hill, some interesting stuff. And again, I want to point out, not that NFL people are wrong in their reporting here, but Chris, the most interesting thing that Richard touched on is the judge doesn't have to withdraw his injunction. Like, I'm going to stand by what I said because of what you brought to me. again, he needs to be made ineligible to be eligible for the supplemental draft. So
Is there,
that's
and I know nothing of how this works.
yeah.
Is there a way that Sorsby, say the judge keeps him eligible, or say that Sorsby's eligibility remains intact? Can he go the UFL route for a year and then go to the NFL draft?
He can go play in Canada, but Canada's underway now. I mean, Canada's season's started. And again, clearly Richard knows more than I do. I'll be very curious in the next several hours what comes down, and maybe the Texas judge figures out a way to withdraw it. But as Richard said, he doesn't have to. And if he doesn't, does he though? He commits another violation just to become ineligible, because again, he has to be ineligible or lose his eligibility to play college to then file an application for the NFL supplemental draft. Give your reasons why you want the league to hold a supplemental draft, and then the league gets to decide if they want to have a supplemental draft. So some of the reporting, like, well, he's entering the supplemental draft. There is no supplemental draft right now. The league has to determine. We haven't had one in years. We've only had one guy taken in the last 8 seasons.
What if Sorsby is deemed ineligible?
Yeah,
The NFL decides we don't want to do an NFL supplemental draft.
they don't have to. He can sue the NFL.
Well, would Sorsby still be eligible to make his way onto an NFL roster without being drafted?
No.
Okay.
No, because you have to go through the draft process and then not be drafted. He can be an unrestricted free agent.
Mhm.
I don't think he gets to skirt that. So not done yet. The assumption then, well, okay, he beat the deadline for the supplemental draft. He hasn't beaten anything yet.
Does the NFL have the June 22nd deadline to decide if they are holding a supplemental draft?
I believe you have to file by June 22nd. Then the league reviews your application and then determines if you meet the criteria to then have a supplemental
So
draft.
I know the player had the deadline of June 22nd.
Yeah, I don't
is
know.
the NFL
I don't
following
know
that
if the league.
same?
Well, I don't know if like the league takes. I mean, if he files today somehow, I don't know how long it takes the league to review. My guess is it can't take that long, but we haven't gotten from point A to Z yet. And some people are like, well, he entered the supplemental draft. No, he didn't. He has to handle the court matter first and then apply for the supplemental draft. And I think there's been some erroneous reporting about that. Matt and Michelle's weekly visit next. Today's theme on Double Shot Tuesday, these are great trios. Nirvana. 50857 on the text line for great trios. You can send in the band, but also give us a song. Good to Matt and Michelle.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company.
Great, sir.
Let's tackle the latest news from UCF and around the world of college football with the Orlando Sentinel's very own Matt Michelle.
Give him the Heisman now.
Hit up Matt on Twitter at OS Matt Michelle.
All right, talk college sports with Matt Michelle on these Tuesdays. Follow my extra Twitter at OS Matt Michelle. Morning, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing this morning, Mark?
I'm good. Thank you. Let me start. Everybody's got an opinion on Brendan Sorsby. Your thoughts as at least this chapter of the story has moved on, and he will not play football at Texas Tech. Still some legal matters to resolve, but your thoughts and who are the winners and losers here?
Well, I think this was the only way this was going to end. It had to come down to Brendan Sorsby deciding, is it worth me going forward and playing football and going through all this and putting Texas Tech through all this and basically making this whole year into what would be a legal battle, with outside the football field in the court system where, Big 12 and Texas Tech would be battling it out. And I think in the end, once the Big 12, got its, legal system in yesterday and the legal and lawyers and put together its really good, case, federal court, I think things looked more like this was not going to end well for Texas Tech and Sorsby. So he decided to make the move to the, supplemental NFL draft. So it's going to be interesting. I think, the winners have got to be the Big 12. I mean, obviously for what they were able to do. I think Brett Yormark looks stronger, after this move, because I think it showcased that, they didn't back down. They were willing to move forward on it. If this case had gone this way, if Sorsby continued and we were in the legal fights all season long, I think that really would have damaged Yormark's reputation, all the good he's done in the Big 12 so far. So I think he's a winner. I think the Big 12 is a winner. I think in a lot of ways, we as fans are winners. I mean, this is drug out so long. I think people are just tired of all this. And I think the idea that we actually got to a situation where we're come down with a final decision, I think it's going to be interesting. I hope that Brendan Sorsby is able to be successful and have a successful life, and he gets the help he needs for his addiction and, all of that. And I hope it doesn't, become an issue. But I think big picture wise, it's going to be interesting to see how the Big 12 moves forward with its membership. If there's going to be obviously some strain there, the Texas Tech is not just going to let this go away and go in line. I think there's going to be a little strain there. And it's going to be interesting how Yormark and everyone can kind of get back on the same page and make sure this doesn't become a bigger issue down the road.
Matt, I said yesterday, life's about leverage sometimes. The night that George Kliavkoff went to bed thinking he had a media deal in the Pac-12 and woke up to learn that Oregon and Washington were Big Ten members, they had options. Florida State didn't have a place to go when they went out of the ACC, at least right now. And Texas Tech doesn't have options. So maybe for at least the next 4 or 5 years, they're going to have to get along and figure it out because the SEC or Big Ten's not calling upon them. So, I mean, I guess time heals wounds. Do you think that, that eventually happens? Because, again, I don't know what else Texas Tech thinks they can do right now. There's no place else to go.
No. And I mean, I think eventually time will heal wounds. I think it's very interesting to me. And the bigger picture on this, too, is also that it really showcases that, when you get politicians involved, this can almost backfire, which it did in this case for Texas Tech.
What? Are you serious?
Come on. You serious? Yeah. Imagine that, right? The Texas AG comes out and starts throwing some weight around and saying that basically we're going to sue everybody. Well, what do you think the Big 12 was going to do all along? Well, we're going to go to the federal level. We're going to get some really good lawyers, and we're going to find a way to kind of do. They did the thing that basically the NCAA wasn't able to do. Is you said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to present our case. We're going to strengthen our case. And then it got to the point that, that Texas Tech realized there's nothing they could have done in this situation. They weren't going to win this battle. So I think it's going to take Texas Tech a little time. I think you're going to see there'll be some snarky bitterness, I'm sure, in some ways when things happen. I'm interested to know, if the Big Ten has already kind of there was a Big Ten school that decided not to play a volleyball game against Texas Tech. I'll be interested to see if other conferences continue that kind of line of not wanting to play Texas Tech and how that influences. Like, I think a lot of this will start to die down and go away, but there's definitely going to be some hurt feelings. And, Cody Campbell's been a very big, voice among this. And I think, for Cody, maybe this is a chance to step back and take a moment and reevaluate how everything's going on. I agree that it's your school and you support your school, but maybe this isn't the time until everything kind of gets squared out with the college athletics in general. So this is going to be a very difficult, few months and few years. But I do agree. I think eventually down the road, this will kind of fall away and you'll see everyone kind of be on the same page. But listen, it wouldn't be the first, Big 12 wouldn't be the first conference to have members that weren't happy, you know what I mean? And spend time, grumbling about it. But at this point, there's much, like you mentioned, there's much they can do.
Matt, I know you covered it. Can you share what the Ted Roof judgment was recently in court and what happens now for UCF?
Well, obviously, the idea that, Ted Roof had a breach of contract lawsuit against UCF. Felt like after he was dismissed, back in, I have to go back. It's been feels like it's been so long, but back in 2024, the school tried to, amend his buyout, so to speak, based on the idea that, Gus Malzahn had resigned and, they felt like they could, felt like they should owe as much money. And so Ted sued for the school. And it's interesting because I think, here's Ted, they go to lawsuit that was been going on for like 17 months. And finally, an Orange County Circuit judge actually, decided to, looked at the case, looked at everything that was going on and said, okay, well, I'll give us a ruling, in a summary judgment ruling to help them out. And so this basically determines that everything that's been presented to the judge, this won't go to trial. This is a judge assessment. Judge will do the ruling, but everything that the two sides agreed upon, the judge ruled, that Ted Roof and his, he basically won everything on this. Everything goes up to Roof. So it'll be interesting to see what UCF does next if they try to find a way to try to win this. But everyone I've spoken with, outside of this case has said that really it's going to be tough for UCF to win this. That basically Roof was fired before Gus was, Gus resigned, and really there's no way they can go through and make their case. And once they've agreed upon all that, then it's going to be even tougher to win.
Matt, sometimes when I go food shopping, I set a budget, and if I go a little bit past it, I don't feel that guilty. You're like, should I get should I get a few more grapes because it's they're half pound. Florida's projected $1.45 billion renovation of the Swamp. Probably, if they spend that, it's going to come in a little bit above budget. Maybe it just shows how much money that they have. But I'm just curious your thoughts. It didn't get a lot of overreaction. Like people are like, oh, okay, it's going to be a 5-year project and spend a lot of money. But it is a massive number. I mean, the Rays were going to build a stadium in St. Pete for less than that. And now they're trying to get money for a stadium in Tampa. But your thoughts on that Gator project?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And you mentioned it's, when you see the word billion, it's really a lot of people, the price tag has a lot of people doing a second take on that. And especially this time of in the world where everything's going on with college athletics, trying to find a way to make as much money as they possibly can for NIL and revenue sharing and things like that. You're going to invest that kind of money in facilities. But it also goes to show you that, I think that, Florida realizes that you've got to continue to pump money into your stadium. It's not like you're going to tear it all down and everything. I'm interested to see how this project goes, over the next few years. I mean, obviously, you mentioned it's supposed to be completed by 2030, but you mentioned, this price tag may get a little bigger, obviously, with the way things are going in the economy. So, but fans really I have not heard anyone really screaming and yelling and outrage about it. I think anyone who's a Florida fan wants to see, things going on. A lot of this, too, is premium seating, things like that. I think that's going to be a huge issue with a lot of schools, is that their facilities, benefit those premium spots, so that you can make some more money on it. And now that, you saw Florida, the Swamp hosted concerts already, and they've done that a couple times. And I think more colleges are going to get doing that because, again, it's a venue that they got to find a way to make money and help generate more money for your for your athletic department, and so you want to make sure you keep it up to speed. So, when I saw that, I thought, okay, well, but again, that just seems to be what everyone's doing now and then. Again, is upgrading facilities and making things ready to go.
Man, I read somebody wrote an interesting piece at Florida State, and I'm not trying to pile on the Seminoles who are struggling a little bit right now, brand wise and expectations in football, but they went through the stadium renovation, spent a lot of money at a time when people pivoted to pay for play, and a few things maybe out of their control, but got the Alabama game and then home and home. Their Florida game is going to be on a Black Friday. The Georgia home and home is now going to be a neutral site game, likely somewhere in the state. And as the person was explaining, that's not what your donors and boosters signed up for. And as you talk about 9-game conference schedules, and now teams kind of getting out of these bigger home and home, saying, "Hey, I got these conference games." Well, if you drop a marquee non-conference game and you add, sorry to pick on you, Wake is going to be the extra game or something like that. That's a little tough at a time that donors are being asked a lot. And I'm just curious. They spent a lot of money in that place. They got a lot of debt on that place. You got to be careful losing marquee games at Florida State by now, can't you?
Yeah, you got to, for sure. You got to be very careful for that because, again, like you mentioned, when boosters and donors are looking around saying, okay, we just spent a lot of money. You've asked me to give a lot of money to help upgrade, our stadium, and we're expected to get these great matchups. And then all of a sudden, a game like against Georgia, all of a sudden now that's going to go to a neutral site. Well, that you take that game away from me, or you move a game like you mentioned, the Florida game to Black Friday. I mean, it makes fans start to wonder, why did we spend this money? Why did we go through? Like I mentioned earlier with the Florida situation. I mean, you spent a lot of money to build premium seating to make things better, so you could charge more money, and all of a sudden, you're offering people, again, no offense, Wake Forest as the key matchup, and I just think fans are going to get a little bit tired of that. And the next time you come out and say, okay, well, we need more money for this or this or this, that's the thing that's going to keep people who maybe were on the fence from maybe giving money or donating or wanting to see this going on. Don't get me wrong. You'll always have boosters and donors who will write the check when the school needs something. But I think it's going to be a lot harder to convince them that when you're telling them, well, we're losing some of these matchups, but hey, don't worry about it. We'll figure a way to make it up down the road. And I think it's a challenge for them. And especially at Florida State right now, as you mentioned, I mean, they have issues right now, and they're dealing with their own economic issues that have been well documented, and they're trying to find a way to make sure they make the money to help, get their athletic department on the right, and they got to make sure they still pay, everyone. They just redid football practice facility, new football offices; those have been redone. They spent a lot of money upgrading their facilities, so Florida State has to be really careful about that. I think a lot of schools like them have to be careful about that, because if you take too much of that away and you make these games not nearly as attractive, all of a sudden you've got a great brand new updated stadium and you've only filled 60, 70, 80% of the stadium, and it looks that way on TV. Well, that's not going to be a very good look for you. And so you need to find a way to make sure that you keep these games and keep them in there and make them challenging. I understand why maybe Florida State and Georgia would have agreed to maybe cancel their home and home with everything going on with the 9-game conference schedule for the ACC and SEC, but still, you would love to see a matchup or figure a way how to be able to accomplish that at some point, or bring in another bigger matchup so you give the fans something to kind of appreciate what's going on.
Matt Michelle on X or Twitter at OS Matt Michelle. Follow his coverage of UCF and all college sports. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.
And on the mark, off the mark segment coming up at about 11:35. The hour kicks off with the news coming up. First, though, time for the World Cup report, brought to you by friends at Fitter's Green Irish Pub in Fairbanks. 4 draws yesterday, including 67th ranked Cape Verde getting a scoreless draw with the second-ranked team in the world in Spain. It's about as close as you can get to a win without winning than what Cape Verde did yesterday. Belgium and Egypt tied at 1. Saudi Arabia and Uruguay tied at 1. Iran got a goal in the 64th minute to get even with New Zealand and tie that match at 2. 3 matches go today, and some of the bigger brands. France, one of the heavy favorites, will take on Senegal at 3 o'clock. 6 o'clock matchup is Iraq and Norway later tonight. Lionel Messi and Argentina return to the pitch. We'll take on Algeria at 9 o'clock. U.S. is back in action on Friday when they take on Australia. 3 o'clock start to that match from Seattle for match number 2. A World Cup update brought to you by Fitters Green Irish Pub in Winter Park. Also brought to you by Carlsberg Beer and Jameson Irish Whiskey. Catch all the exciting World Cup action at Fitters Green Irish Pub.
Let's really do the news.
Yes.
Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock hour, WYJ Orlando, WHR, HD2 Cocoa Beach. Time for the news. World Cup 4 draws yesterday. 3 more matches today, as we mentioned in our World Cup report. Among them, Lionel Messi and Argentina will play today. The college football news, Brendan Sorsby is seeking to have the injunction that granted him eligibility to play football at Texas Tech withdrawn. He needs to be ineligible in order to then apply for the NFL supplemental draft. There's been a lot of quick reporting that says he entered the supplemental draft. There is no supplemental draft in the National Football League every year. If a player's lost their eligibility, has not, no longer has eligibility, and missed the normal draft process, then they file an application with the league to request a supplemental draft. Then collectively bargain between the players in the league. They get to determine, the league, if the player meets the criteria to hold a supplemental draft. Not saying Sorsby won't get there, but he's got to have his legal team withdraw their request that gave him eligibility and then go into a supplemental draft. Chris, I went back, I looked before everything went down back in October and November. He was listed anywhere from the 5th to 9th quarterback for the draft. And in this year's draft, would have put him in the 3rd, late 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round based on the projections back then.
Mm-hmm.
Does he get the same draft grade? I don't know. Again, I'm not piling on Sorsby. He's got some games that he was, average. Now, maybe the size and the arm strength, but I don't know what draft grade he would have and what team might be willing to take him.
Well, and you got to think, whatever draft grade he would have had, now you're adding a whole bunch of baggage to it. Is it really worth a potential headache?
Yeah, I mean, we shall see. Venus and Serena Williams will play doubles at Wimbledon as Serena continues to add a few more matches in her somewhat out of retirement tour. Speaking of football, the Bucks OTAs going on. More on that come up in just a little bit. Now the NBA season is over, and the Knicks will have their parade on Thursday. Attention will turn towards the upcoming draft. Darren Peterson, by the way, interviewing with one team, the Wizards. That's it.
Getting to that and on the mark, off the mark.
Will not interview with anybody else. Interesting. The Giannis rumors will heat up about what may happen there, with a lot of people thinking Miami's going to be a done deal. We'll see. Does Boston do anything? Does Oklahoma City do anything? Magic have set Thursday, 1 o'clock, for their time to introduce Sean Sweeney. And by the way, some of you overreacting yesterday when I was doing a rant. I think Sean Sweeney, like I said, the day the Magic announced that he was being hired, Sean Sweeney may end up being a great coach that wins multiple championships. I don't know how anybody knows for certain when someone's hired if it's going to work. His track record, his resume, his respect around the NBA certainly indicates he's more than ready to be a head coach in the NBA. And the Magic hired somebody that other teams would have hired. So I think he's a fine hire. Whether he wins, he's got to go coach games. But the other thing that some people, and tongue in cheek with me yesterday, do I think the Spurs blowing 4 double-digit leads in the NBA, 5 double-digit leads in the NBA Finals is a bad sign for the Magic? I don't. I think Sean Sweeney probably hasn't slept much, not since the Knicks won on Saturday, but during the entire series, because I would think he was incredibly frustrated about what happened in basketball games. But coaches have an idea of what they want their players to do and how things will go. But, Chris, how many times in any sport, but maybe in basketball, because it happens with 5-on-5 before your eyes, a coach says, hey, I got the perfect play. We're going to run right here in the huddle. You're going to do this. We draw it up, and we come out of the huddle, and their defense is completely different, and you're like, oh, darn.
Yep.
All right, let's try. So, Sean Sweeney didn't forget how to coach defense because of what the Knicks did in 5 games to come back. Stuff happens. And through a course of a series, as you make adjustments, things happen. But I'm sure he won't admit it. I'm sure Sean Sweeney probably to himself said, I can't believe player blank did that when we went over it 1 million times. Right? Right? And I'm going to guess, even though he's known as a defensive expert, he probably said, why is Wemby shooting that three right there? Right? And probably said multiple times in the series to himself about Wemby. You're going to be one of the greatest players ever. Why are you getting beat as you're getting beat at times on defense? So he didn't forget how to coach defense. I don't think the Magic made a mistake in hiring Sean Sweeney because they lost in the series to the Knicks. By the way, Jalen Brunson's fourth quarter, highest offensive rating fourth quarter in playoff history.
I can see that.
Yeah. Wemby's first quarter rating, better than all 3 second, third, and fourth quarter ratings. You could see that too in how the series went, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But again, NBA's offseason, potential trades, limited free agency. You don't have any marquee names. And then the draft, which is going to be interesting, at least for what's projected to be an excellent draft. On the mark, off the mark, coming up in just a little bit. You can always access this show, FM 96.9, AM 740, on the iHeart app anywhere in the world. You can listen in podcast form where you get your favorite podcasts. If you type in the Beat of Sports on Demand, you can watch the stream of the show, accessing it via Twitter, 96 on Game On, or go to our YouTube page, 96 The Game Orlando. Click on the logo on the live button, and you can see this ugly mug right here. By the way, did you open the yo-yo among the birthday gifts I got you yesterday?
I did. I'm trying to walk the dog, and I forgot how to do it. Forgot how to walk the dog.
Is your little daughter watching you here? Or?
She was watching, yes. Playing, no.
Did she laugh and like, what is that? Or
she was confused.
Yeah?
She was confused. But it's all good. She'll learn as I will
Are
learn.
you going to do the YouTube video of remember how to walk the dog and stuff?
I can bring it in. I don't think anyone's going to want to watch me yo-yo, but I'll try.
No, I'm saying at home, though.
Oh, am I going to?
Are you going to cave?
No. But it will keep me entertained.
What about the Matchbox card? Did you open it up?
No, it's going to be a collectible.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The last few Hot Wheels cards
you haven't opened them?
Nope.
What about the
I'll start a collection?
What about the plastic Nerf ball with the candy inside?
So I ate my Sour Patch Kids during the show yesterday. Ate some sunflower seeds on the way home.
The grown man in his 30s. I ate my Sour Patch Kids candy yesterday. Yeah.
I'm doing the candy, the Nerf ball candy today.
Okay.
And
Are all the sunflower seeds gone?
No, half the honey garlic, honey roasted.
Okay.
Half that bag is gone.
Okay.
And then my wife and I each indulged in a cupcake.
Oh, yeah. How were the cupcakes?
Cupcakes were delicious.
Did your wife like
Very
it?
good. She loved it.
Okay.
She got the
Did
chocolate.
Your daughter at least lick the frosting or anything?
No.
Too sweet.
There's still 2 more cupcakes.
Okay.
Might let her try a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well, glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. On the mark, off the mark in about 25 minutes or so. A little bit of NFL. Big question I want to ask Chris. Not big question. Question I want to ask Chris about one of our state teams. We'll do that next. Who's this?
That would be Chevelle,
Ah, yeah.
the red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No idea. Today's Double Shot Tuesday theme trios. Chris, the big Chevelle guy.
Can't stop Chevelle.
Can you?
No, you
No?
can't.
By the way, before I get to the other NFL story, the whole Brendan Sorsby thing with the supplemental draft, again, he didn't enter anything. He's got to apply. For those that don't know, here's how the supplemental draft works if he gets to one. It's a weighted lottery to determine the draft. So the Raiders had the first pick in the NFL draft, okay? They get like 32 ping pongs. And the Seahawks get one. Then they break it down to three separate lotteries. One to determine the order among all teams that won 6 or fewer games. So if you won 6 or fewer games, I'm going to have as many ping pong balls as the Raiders. But the Giants could end up with a higher pick than the Raiders. We understand that so far? We got that?
I do.
Second, determine the order among teams that won more than 6 but didn't make the playoffs, and then those among playoff teams. Once the order is established, okay, it's not 32 tables somewhere with a phone. Once the order is set, teams submit bids on players that they're interested in, meaning if I'm the Giants and Chris is the Cowboys, and in this case, Brendan Sorsby comes up and Chris says, I'm going to submit a second round bid. I don't know that he did. I submit a fourth round bid. Well, the question is, based on where the Cowboys are, how many other teams submitted a second round bid? That's how it's determined who then gets Sorsby. So, not knowing I put a fourth round, I'm not going to get him because either somebody else or the Cowboys, if they submitted a second round, or just the Cowboys, then they would get him. That makes sense? Did I just confuse people more?
No, I think it's
okay.
Explained it pretty well.
If nobody submits a bid for 7 rounds, he doesn't get drafted, then he's an unrestricted free agent. But we got a ways to go to get to that. But that's how it works. It's not like the straight NFL draft. Oh, we go back and do that again. It's a little bit different. Okay? So that's what's happening there. So we talked about this briefly. The Bucs opened up 3 days of mandatory OTAs.
Yes.
Mandatory OTAs. Anyway, the Baker Mayfield situation with his contract, we've touched on briefly. I don't worry about these things in mid-June. He wants a new deal. The Bucs are hesitant to give him a big deal because of the money we're involved here. Would we agree that Baker Mayfield has football left in him?
Yes.
How many years?
I'd say at least 3 to 4.
3 to 4. Can we agree that the Bucs and Mayfield have a different value and maybe different answers to how many years left?
I would say yes to that.
That's why we're in this situation, right? Okay. Doesn't mean that they can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
In Mayfield's case with the Bucs, tell me if you agree. You've got an NFL team that says, look, we like the guy quarterback. He's been productive for us when healthy. But we don't want to spend a ton of money on a guy that we're not quite sure how much prime years of his career we have left. So we might want a smaller deal with less guaranteed money. We don't want anything maybe beyond 2 years. And if you're Mayfield, you're like, I want as much guaranteed as I possibly can. It's the last contract I'm going to get.
Mm-hmm.
How many teams in the National Football League are in a similar spot? Either A, with the veteran that you're like, we're on the backside here, I don't want to commit to, or they need a quarterback because the makeup of the Bucs, they need Baker Mayfield at quarterback.
Yes.
Without him, I don't think you believe he can make the playoffs. With Mayfield, in the division that they're in, with no one racing away, then you feel like you got a chance for the division. So if you look around the NFL of other teams in a spot, like ideally, I don't, I got a guy under contract. He may be up in a year or two, and I certainly right now don't want to go all in on some massive deal. Can I give you another team?
Hmm?
Like the Cardinals and Jacoby Brissett.
Mm-hmm.
He knows it's the last chance of a big contract for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're the Cardinals, you're like, he's not the future. Like right now, we need somebody to play quarterback, right?
Yep.
We need somebody to play quarterback. Hey, you want to start for us? Then you can start here. I like 4 years. I don't like 4 years. I kind of like 17 games. You do your thing. You run around, you throw for 350 yards one week, you throw for 87 the next, and so, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you some other guys that are kind of interesting.
Okay.
Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
They're not committing to anybody.
Nope.
They told Kyler Murray, yeah, come on in. J.J. McCarthy, we don't know. Okay? Atlanta with Tua.
Mm-hmm. You got the Colts.
The Colts.
You got the Jets.
I don't count anything the Jets are doing. That's just But wait. Here. No, I'll throw 2 names at you, right?
Okay.
Bryce Young.
Would I give him a long-term deal?
What's Carolina thinking? You've seen a little bit of progress.
I think he's improved every year he's been in the league.
But do you really think the Carolina Panthers right now are like, I'm all in at 5 years, $300 million?
No,
because
no.
wait. But my point is that's the market that's going to get to, because it's going to get into the 60. When you look at where the contracts are going.
I get that, but even a guy like Bryce Young knows he's not going to get $60 million a year.
Maybe his representation would argue with that, because then I'll throw C.J. Stroud in there.
He's another guy who's not going to get $60 million a year.
But both of those teams need those guys to be their quarterback right now.
Right
Correct?
now, yes.
Yeah. So, and would you agree both of those teams are not all in on here's 5 years, whatever the number is.
Correct.
If it's 230, 250, 300.
Correct.
So they're kind of like, we need this guy to be a quarterback.
Yes.
All right. I got a few more.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans. They're not about to hand Tyler Shuck some massive contract. Come on.
I mean, he's only been in the league 1 year.
Right.
So, no, obviously they're not going to make that decision for at least 3 years.
I'm going to give you two more teams because of where they're at with their current guys. And one we've talked about, even though you hated the draft, it is the Rams. Although I think this is a little bit different in the case of Stafford and the Rams are kind of doing the Jordan thing. We're going year by year. Even though he's got some guaranteed money tacked on here, which is why I think they drafted Simpson, which you may or may not like the pick, and you don't. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Seattle. He signed a 3-year, $100 million deal. Are the Seahawks in a hurry to lock down Sam Darnold to a big contract?
In a hurry? No.
He's got one, and then the other one's not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. Sam Darnold just turned 29.
Yep. And he's got the 1 year, and then the last year is not guaranteed.
So this will be essentially a contract year for him.
Right. So they just won a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly was a part of that, right? Are they clamoring to say, here's 5 years and whatever the number is?
No, because they were, and I get completely different positions, but they were willing to let the Super Bowl MVP walk.
Running back.
I know, but still.
I know, but a running back.
Super Bowl MVP.
Running back.
Super Bowl MVP.
You can keep pressing the replay.
We'll keep doing it.
No, but Chris, the quarterback position is just different. I'm not quite sure they're in a hurry to lock him down. Here. Is it possible the Seahawks go 11-6?
Yes.
Is it possible they go 11-6 and just by matchups they're out in the first round?
Yes.
Are they then looking to lock him down to a new contract? And I'm assuming he has whatever number he puts up going 11-6.
If he goes 11-6 and completes 60
Whatever. He has a decent season.
decent season, they will find a way to make the last year more attractive to him to play one more year before then determining whether they want to go.
Seattle did the
long
same
term.
thing basically as the Bucks did. You know, a little bit under the market
Yeah.
with some guaranteed money. So, to kind of bring it back to Tampa, when they got Baker to sign the last deal, it turned out to be a really good deal for them. He believes he's got years left. I think they're a bit hesitant, and even the defending Super Bowl champions are somewhat similar of like, yeah, we won the title, so don't you want to lock him down? We like him at quarterback right now under the deal that we've got.
Mhm.
I think we went through like 9 teams that need that guy to play quarterback, but aren't in a hurry to go lock him down.
And there's a lot of questions to be answered at the quarterback spot.
By the way, I said to Chris earlier, if the stuff with Sorsby goes through the supplemental draft, I gave him 2 teams about possibly drafting Sorsby.
I really wish the
Dolphins and Bucks.
I really wish the Raiders did not take Fernando Mendoza.
I don't think the irony of that. I said Dolphins and Bucks.
Miami, no. I don't think Miami will do it.
4th or 5th rounder?
Nope. No. Tampa's interesting.
Okay.
Tampa is interesting because of what their situation is right now with Baker Mayfield. Do they go sign a vet to a 1, maybe 2-year deal and then let Sorsby sit behind him to get ready for the NFL?
It's a gamble, man.
It is.
That was bad. That was a really bad pun joke attempt. That was really bad. Yeah. I mean, the odds would be long that he makes a team. Okay. That's not necessary. Really not. Okay. I mean, the numbers say you don't go gamble on something like that.
No, the only team that would, and I'll get to this also and on the mark, off the mark, Cleveland Browns. This is something that they would do. This is something that the Cleveland Browns would do.
I mean, the odds of the Bucks taking it.
You want to bet?
Okay, I'm done playing a child, okay? On the mark, off the mark's next. I thought Wolfmother had 9 Lucifers in the band.
You can't stop Wolfmother. Wolfmother hasn't made an appearance in a long time.
Greatest trios of all time, and
You need Wolfmother.
Chris self-serving plays Wolfmother.
I was torn between Wolfmother and some TLC.
Before we get down the mark, off the mark, these days I watch more like puppy and kitten videos and food videos on Twitter because it's healthier for me than all the other crap that's out there. But I play this game, and maybe you do this. So like there's a video of like, oh, this looks like an interesting recipe, right?
Mhm.
And it starts out, and then I'll slowly scroll. The minute it's 4.5 minutes, and that just shows you our inability of having any patience, right?
Mhm.
And I think I told you this before. I love to cook. I think you enjoy. The minute you are onto like your 9th item that I have to make the sauce or spice, I'm out, man. Okay, like it's got to be simple. I don't have that in my pantry. No, I don't. I don't have that one spice that's found in Ecuador only in 3 months in the southeast part of the country. I don't have it. What am I supposed to do? Okay, I don't have that Himalayan salt from 6,000 BC, and there's only 3 ounces left in the world. I don't have it. So what am I supposed to do? Can I not use Morton salt? Will it not taste the same? What am I supposed to do?
You know, a pet peeve of mine with these videos is there'll be one that's interesting, like, money saving hacks or whatever. And I understand branding and everything, but every video, my name is so and so. I'm a certified blah 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 blah. And for the next minute, they're describing who they are and why they're certified to tell you what they're telling you.
Yeah.
Just get to it, because if you do that, then I'm gone.
Yeah. You really have to have this tomato is only available in the country formerly known as. Like, what? Where do I get that? They don't have that at Fresh Market. What am I supposed to do? I got everything else here, but like that, you have to have it. Anyway, let's go to On the Mark, Off the Mark.
It's a Tuesday staple on the beat of sports. On the mark, off the mark. Presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Bowegan's, recrafting perceptions.
This cream's only available if Cape Verde gets a draw in the World Cup.
Well, you better go and find it.
Yesterday.
You better go and find it.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Mark.
Chris.
53 years. 53 years since the Knicks could call themselves NBA champions, and that changed over the weekend.
Box to Wemby. Wemby tries a three, puts it up, off the mark. Anunoby the rebound. It's over. It's over. Knicks fans, this is not a dream. Your long, long wait has ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
And then New York City proceeded
and the double, winning the NBA Cup during the year. Let's not forget that. No one else has ever done it.
Yeah. All right. Jalen Brunson was NBA Finals MVP. I do believe you also could have made a case for OG Anunoby, even though he struggled in Game 5.
Not in the closeout game after what Brunson did.
I think an argument could be made, but that's not where I'm going here. Mark, you made it very well known where this New York Knicks championship stands in your lifetime. Number 2 behind.
Well, I said my marriage, birth of my kids, the UCF victories in the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, and the Knicks are second. I'll let the family figure out where everything else ranks.
So with that being said, would I be on the mark or off the mark if I said that as much as you want to see the Knicks win, you'd actually be fine if they went another 50 years without a trophy just because you were able to finally watch them end their drought?
I'm okay.
Chris is right.
Yeah, I plan on living to at least 95. If you tell me today the Knicks will never win a title, I probably will have some frustrated years along the way. But today I'm okay. I've witnessed it. I'm fine.
That's all that matters. I think
man.
I think I would be the same way with the Cowboys.
I'm okay.
I mean,
I'm okay.
I hope I have another 60, 70.
Again, I had no memory of the first. I was 6. So, I mean, I hope to see, but I told you, I'll be shocked if the Knicks are in the Eastern Conference Finals. Ja.
Well, you gotta keep the roster intact. Try and get younger. Try and get cheaper. Do you bring back Mitchell Robinson?
Yes.
Is that how many free agents do the Knicks have?
He's the only unrestricted free agent. And all you need for that is probably $25 million on a new pink Cadillac. And he's good. Yeah. We'll trade for De'Aaron Fox. It's next to Brunson. No one else helped the Knicks win a championship more. So.
Apparently, Knicks fans are making De'Aaron Fox jerseys.
I just love how all these NBA people are like, well, they're going to move on from him. Because who's taking that contract? Huh? Who?
One guy that was on the losing side of the NBA Finals is Sean Sweeney, now the Magic
I think
head
the president's
coach.
trying to make him part of the Iran settlement. You guys got to take the De'Aaron Fox contract. I'm sorry, what?
Sean Sweeney, he goes from Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, and Victor Wembanyama to Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, and Desmond Bane. Of course, now people are going to question whether Sweeney is a good coach because of what happened in the finals. But would I be on the mark or off the mark if I said that Magic fans should still be ecstatic to have Sweeney as the head coach because he was part of the Spurs hires last year that led to a 28-game improvement from the year before, and he will take this experience from the finals and make adjustments as needed to be in order to be successful in Orlando.
At least he didn't say, does the loss fuel him and so forth.
No.
First off, ecstatic is a very strong word. I stand by what I said. I stand by what I said earlier. My sarcasm yesterday aside, Sean Sweeney's resume, in the eyes of important basketball people, is worthy to be a head coach. He's earned that opportunity. I hope he's very, very successful with the Magic. All indications are that they got a good guy. Is he going to be great? I don't know, because sometimes great coaches end up in bad situations beyond their control. So I don't think losing to the Knicks in 5 means he can't coach. Anybody that thinks that, I think it's foolish.
So you wouldn't use ecstatic, but all right, would you say
I think a Magic
they
fan
should have a positive outlook on Sean Sweeney coming in?
If you thought Sean Sweeney was a good hire before the start of the NBA Finals, you should still think he's a good hire today.
I'm going to take it.
Chris is right.
I'm going to take that one.
Okay.
The NBA draft is 1 week from today, and the Washington Wizards have the number 1 pick. According to Shams, one of the top prospects, Darren Peterson, is only working out with the Wizards and not any other team.
The major wrinkle here, about a week from the NBA draft, is multiple sources tell ESPN that Darren Peterson has made the decision to only work out and visit with the Washington Wizards. He is not granting anyone else any access to him, any other workout or visit with him. He's only visiting with a number 1 pick team in the Wizards.
You can have all the talent in the world, which Peterson appears to have an abundance of. But am I on the mark or off the mark for believing that it is a mistake for Peterson to only visit and work out with one team because his one season at Kansas, coupled with the play of some other guys, including that of AJ DeBonsta, has knocked him out of number 1 pick consideration?
Well, there's a strategy here about why he's not going anywhere else, and I don't even know how much of that's true or not. I think Darren Peterson's people think that he's in play in Washington for the number 1 pick. So from that standpoint, maybe their strategy's fine. But I mean, these are draft games that are going on.
So am I on the mark or off the mark?
I think you're. No, I think you're on the mark.
Chris is right.
Love playing that button.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I do something though?
Yes.
I mean, just we're talking about that. I think this is important to bring up, if you allow me to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the spotlight is coming to you. So if the spotlight is going to come to you, then I'm going to keep you home because it's your
Boston.
It's your city. No, Utah.
That's not home.
It's not home for you, but it's been home for the last few years,
Right.
and that is your city right now, right? So
Utah's also not a city, by the way.
What is it?
Salt Lake City. State.
What do they call it?
Utah.
It hurts every single time.
Stud of the week.
It hurts every single
I'm sorry,
time.
you just kind of opened the door for that. I had to go.
It hurts. The silence is so deafening.
What is it? The state. What? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right, so major news. Brendan Sorsby attempting to enter the NFL supplemental draft.
Yeah.
After being granted a temporary injunction by a judge, Sorsby was set to play for Texas Tech, but has made the decision to try and get to the next level. At this point, I don't know what's going to happen, but would I be on the mark or off the mark for believing that the reputation of Sorsby is forever tarnished? And even if he makes it to the NFL supplemental draft, no team, except for, of course, maybe the Browns, will want to attach their name to his.
Well, I think you're both. I think you're on the mark that this
is right.
Well, this will stay with him forever. I mean, even if he goes on to have a Hall of Fame career in the National Football League, I think somebody will take him in the supplemental draft. I don't know where, but I think somebody will take a flyer on.
I mean, you mentioned it earlier, lessons we can learn from this situation. And I mean, it seems like we're very quick to forgive these athletes for reckless endangerment of others. The 84 arrests that Kirby Smart's had under his tenure. None of that appears to matter to us. Rasheed Rice is now out of prison.
I said that. We need to learn lessons about selective outrage. One thing I do want to add, I'd be surprised if they do. Again, the NFL has to decide they want to do a supplemental draft. Two, I don't know if the NFL, maybe the NFL thinks he deserves a penalty as well here. Like, hey, you draft him, he's suspended for 4 games. I think that might be a stretch, but ask Terrell Pryor what happened to him. He served a 5-game suspension for Tattoo Gate.
I would be willing to go on record and say nothing at the NFL level will happen to Sorsby.
I think 10% chance it does. Yeah, I think 10% chance it does. Yeah.
I can't see it. And that is on the mark, off the mark.
Back to put a wrap on the Tuesday show next. Well, I feel good. Bill Simmons has Jalen Brunson ranked ahead of Sam Jones among all-time point guards. That's all I needed to hear and make my day. Off to get the knee check, by the way.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been taking it easy?
I've jogged. I haven't run, but I've jogged. Chris, have a good day today. Miss any of the program? Go where you get your favorite podcast. Time with the Beat of Sports on Demand to access the show. Download, subscribe, and listen when it's convenient for you. Get the video stream on our YouTube page, 96 of the Game Orlando. Click on the logo on the live button. You can watch it back anytime you want. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Mark.
Chris produced. I'm Marc Daniels. See you tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the Beat of Sports.